Because it wouldn't be a Landmark talk show without the Nagafen hat. So, alright. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Theory Forge. Boom, boom, boom!
Yay.
Yeah, we need to
We
get
need
some
an awesome
sound
drum,
effects.
so-
Working on it. Alright, so, going around here, you're going to do some quick introductions before we start to get into it. By the way, never mind. So, quick introductions. In the lower left corner here, we have Mr. Scott Anderson, Phantom X. Now he is actually stuck at work, so we tried to clone him, and we ended up with another Viz, and that's just how cloning sometimes works. I guess we forgot to change out the databases. So, Phantom X Clone Viz Gaming, introduce yourself.
Hi. I don't know anything because my memory is completely wiped, but
Weird science.
last thing I remember was a test tube. Actually, all right, so my name is Giovanni Marino. I am a Twitch live streamer who does all sorts of cool things, mostly focused on Landmark and EverQuest Next. I'm playing a lot of arcade right now, kicking some ass in that, trying to grind through the harshness that is that reality. And having a good time.
Awesome. Very cool, very cool. And moving along clockwise then, over to Sog.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Sog. I do this streaming thing on the internet. I got a thing called The Colony. Come hang out. Gonna be playing a lot of Gauntlet next week.
Ooh, I played that.
Nice.
Let's hear a round of applause for Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Woo!
I got a chance to play that
I actually need
yesterday.
one more
It was
person-
fun.
I need one more person committed Tuesday and Wednesday next week, 7 to 11 Eastern time, to be part of my streaming Gauntlet playthrough 4-man team. So if anybody's up for that, let me know. But I also love Landmark, and I'm really excited about EverQuest Next, and that's why I'm here.
Very cool, very cool. All right. That is awesome. And of course, everybody here has been part of the community for quite a while, so I'm not just going to say, oh, and so-and-so has been around since so-and-so. No, we've all been a while. So, moving it along now to the middle here, our certified special guest, Knoober.
Yay!
Yay.
Hello, everyone.
Guest.
Special guest. Yeah, I'm really special. I'm Knoober. I've been in Landmark since Alpha. I am the developer and the coordinator for LandmarkBattlegrounds.com. And hopefully that will take off once PvP gets a little more popular. People get some more frames per second. And that's about it.
Cool
Show us
deal.
your tits.
And the other thing with at SOE
See,
Live,
this is the
I
problem
was
when you encourage PvP in a community. the worst element comes out.
yes, things get competitive in all the wrong ways. So at SOE Live this year, I was actually fortunate enough to have a a tripod that I wasn't using, and Knoober needed a tripod.
Oh, yes.
So we managed to make that work out, and we are able to make a good enough AI video that they're able to be like, oh man, we need to do a much better AI video. So the AI video, it's in the works. Terry just gave us feedback on it. Should be pretty good. So finally then, the gentleman with the marvelous beard, Locke, why don't you
Hello.
yeah.
I don't know. I never know what to say. I've been doing these podcasty things for so long, and I'm just a guy on the internet. I talk a lot about EverQuest Next and Landmark. I don't know. You've probably seen my stupid face around somewhere by now, haven't you? I get around. I don't really do anything. I just exist.
Yeah. But yet somehow you managed to marry a real smoking hot little lady there. So I mean, she is so awesome. It was great hanging out with you two at SOE Live, especially that late night hanging out action. That was good times. So.
Oh yeah, she party. She a party animal.
And of course, I'm legendary neurotoxin. You folks probably know me by now, and if you don't, you just keep on watching my shows. I do 45 and a half hours of broadcast a week, some amount of talk shows, some amount of gameplay, some amount of demos and giveaways, potentially going to be having an H1Z1 developer on next week. I know that's not a Landmark thing, but I know there's interested people in similar circles. So anyway, so that's enough on introductions. So let's get into the subjects of discussion here. So what'll be the first thing that we discuss here? I unfortunately was kind of occupied before the show, so I wasn't 100% up on exactly what we're going to be going over here, other than, like, obviously the departure of Omid is a big deal, so maybe we should start there. So, who's Omid? If anybody's asking yourself that question, he's the former senior or brand manager person for the EverQuest franchise and Landmark, and he is recently departed from SOE, not on any bad terms or anything, so much as that looking for some different interesting opportunities and being able to stream more a little bit while he's got some free time, and allegedly there's a book that he's been working on, so he might finish that up. So it's been a great time having him around as a part of the community, as somebody that's been really entertaining on the Landmark live show. He's basically been the comic relief, so now we're going to have, I don't know, maybe Darren come back or something, because he was pretty funny. But round table, we're going to go counterclockwise here. Thoughts on Omid, his departure, any parting words or parting shots that you want to say for him there? Starting with you, Locke.
I've always hated him, and I'm glad he's dead. Well, it's a tough thing, isn't it? He did say it was all kind of up in the air. Like no one really knew what it was. It was very sudden. He did say there was a thread on the EQNext Reddit, kind of being like, "Is this true? Is he really left?" And he posted a reply on there, basically saying that his kind of vision for how he saw the social media and community led marketing of the projects he was working with didn't really gel with the people who were like directly above him in the company. So, that happens. People have differences of opinion, don't they? And I think he's decided that, he's got better things to do, to be honest. He decided to go, and SOE all wish him the best of luck, and I'm sure he'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah. And he's
as long as he...
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to make another terrible joke.
Well then, I'm glad I spared everyone. He did say that he wants to be at SOE Live next year, though. He said, I might not be at SOE anymore, but it's a hell of a party, so that'll be pretty cool, because then he's not going to be as occupied putting out fires. He'll just be able to hang out with Omid. And that'll be a lot of fun. So, Knoober, your thoughts on it, and anything else you wanted to say on the subject?
Well, I got a chance to meet him and spend quite a bit of time with him at SOE Live, both in the professional setting and in the late night drinking setting. And I got a chance to go
back in the hotel room.
Yeah, no, didn't get that far. But I got a chance to hang out with him quite a bit and talk with him about stuff outside of SOE and inside of SOE. I got to do lunch with him, so I'm sad that he's going. I'm very sad that he's leaving. I understand he's very strongly opinionated, and he's very good at what he does, in my opinion. So I think what you said about there being a difference of opinion is spot on. And to be honest, I would not be surprised if we see him working for Twitch eventually.
You're not the first person.
Maybe not.
That.
Yeah, I think it's a good possibility.
It was my first reaction as well, to be honest.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, Omid's a good guy. He's always provided a lot of, like you said, comedy relief during the Landmark Live stuff. And don't go drinking with him in Vegas. I'll second that to anything else anybody else says, because I was hurting for 3 days. And I drink a lot, so
he's not human. I'll tell you that right now. I hung out with him a couple of times, and he doesn't need sleep. He doesn't need to eat. He's like the Terminator, and not Terminator 1 Terminator, like Terminator 2 liquid metal Terminator. That's what he's like. Yeah, just keep coming.
I guess that would make Sog like the T800 then, because he's a man who also had a drink in his hand the entirety of SOE Live, but didn't seem affected. It was like different phases of Sog, but it was still Sog, not this like drunken pile of uselessness. So definitely holding it together, man. That was pretty good.
I think it was the tux that just gave the illusion of that. I think if he'd been dressed like a hobo, he would have been escorted off the premises like the degenerate he is.
I did.
Sorry, I'm in a funny mood.
I posted a picture on Twitter of what I looked like one of those mornings, and it was not in good shape.
Yeah.
It was topless. Also, you guys should look that up.
I guess I
got my tits out.
I missed.
I actually crawled back to my hotel room Thursday night and crawled into the room from the elevator, which thankfully was only 2 doors down. And my girlfriend woke up, looked at me, and said, "What happened? What's wrong?" And I said, "Oh, mead," and she just rolled over right back to sleep. I spent the rest of the night in the bathroom.
I'm surprised they give out the zombie masks instead of the Omid mask. That would have been way more. An Onod mask.
Yeah, she just she did the Onod and rolled over and went back to sleep.
Nice. Yeah, Onod mask, that would have been a good one. I mean, of course, the Onod is definitely a permanent part of Landmark, so whether or not Omid is still a part of the project, he has most definitely left his mark. So
that seems like it's his style. Like he just comes in, leads a bunch of O-turds in good ways, and then just once he's infamous, he just bounces. Maybe that's a good way to do business.
Hit it and quit it.
Yeah. So.
Sorry. Wait. O hit it and O quit it. That's not good.
There you go.
Pretty much, if it's involving him, it needs to have the O in front of it. It's just kind of
that's what I read.
So
I mean, I think I'm really excited for him to. I'm excited to have had him in Landmark, and I'm excited to be a part of the O team, and I'm excited to see where he goes in the future. And that's about it. Yeah.
We skipped Sog, by the way. Sog, what are your thoughts and any parting words for Omid that you got?
Oh, I talked to being part of the O team and also being home in the middle of the day. I talk to Omid almost every day. I just like chatting over the internet, and I purposely don't ask him direct questions about leaving SOE because I don't want to have any information that I'm not allowed to give out, and I don't want to have, I don't want to be there. But my impression from what I've seen from the beginning of Landmark is that Omid is actually very good at being a brand manager and really well understands brand positioning and had a good plan and had targets. But I don't think that even with how different the EverQuest Next project is from the current impression of what EverQuest is from a consumer mindset, I don't think that the higher-ups at Sony are quite willing to let the old feeling and the old brand positioning go. So I think that if you want to do the job that Omid had very well, if you want to do the best job that you can, you need to be pushing hard for things like not taking EverQuest Next off of Landmark, for example. I think that taking the tag EverQuest Next off of Landmark was bad for a long-term perspective, from a brand manager perspective. When you're talking about how you want to position the product and the franchise moving forward, and how you talk about creating a perception different to what actually is. And that's what a brand manager is for. That's what brand managers do. They spend their time looking at their competitors and the different aspects of the market, where they compete, where they overlap, and how they want to position their products, and then what active routes they want to do to make sure that happens. I am not sure that the core of the EverQuest diehards, just like we see with the EQ1 players seeing stuff about EQ Next and going, you know what, that's probably not a game for me because I really like what I did in EQ1. I can see the same thing from the business perspective of, I'm not really ready to make this big jump. And if I were the brand manager, that would drive me crazy because I would want to be doing everything I could do to position this product correctly. And I don't think that positioning the product as being very much related to EQ1 and EQ2 is the best way to sell the product. So if I were in Omid's shoes in that situation, this is my perception. Of course, I have not asked the questions on purpose because I don't want to know the absolute truth. I don't want to be gossiping about facts. I don't want to be telling stories that this is how, and I've thought about this even before, that job probably sucked. He was probably hands tied. He probably couldn't do the job to the best of his ability and probably felt kind of strangled there.
It seems like it has a lot to do with just the way that they're developing the game and the way that they've released it with such little content. It's not really, like I always say, it doesn't really feel like a game. It feels like a development tool. But the perception is that it's a game. So I think that not only is being a brand manager a very difficult job, and not only is Omid very good at it, but this game Landmark in particular, where it stands now, probably is, like, I would think, one of the hardest and most challenging products to manage because of how unique and new and innovative the concepts are behind its development. So,
for me, the biggest thing is when they realized that they were going to do Landmark as a separate product than EverQuest Next. It should have been something they did from the get-go before they announced it at SOE Live 2013, rather than waiting till the transition from alpha to closed beta before fully pulling off, because they had already said back in 2013 that it wasn't meant to be just fantasy, that they wanted sci-fi and everything else. So at that point, that was really the time probably to break the name between the two, so that way there isn't any media confusion. Still to this day, I'll see giveaway keys from NVIDIA and other people that they're EverQuest Next Landmark beta keys, and that's totally not the case anymore. But there's still that lingering kind of aspect of it, and likewise in the actual design of it, the things that are made available to us, all the initial assets they provided, and I would say probably the weapons too, seem like they are all stuff from the EQ Next production pipeline that they put into Landmark because it was easy and it was already ready to go. So
I think that some of that is true, but yeah, that it feels to me like riding the brake. Like, it's, instead of accelerating and moving forward with a plan, it's, well, you know what, I gotta hit that brake. I just can't fully commit. And from a brand manager perspective, that has to be infuriating.
Sure. Yeah, I would agree with that.
This is a really, I was actually talking about this with people this morning, and it's a very hard time for everybody who has anything to do with Twitch and with any sort of understanding, like from a brand manager's perspective or any sort of marketing perspective. Just again, because it's something that seems very new. Putting a game out there, putting cash content or content that can be paid for in a game that is underdeveloped, and it's based on the hope and promise that it can be something great. And even though it's existed in a way in the past, but I feel like most other betas that you buy into, the game is like 70 to 80% done. I feel like Landmark is like at 30% of its, maybe even less. So that's, this is like it's a really hard time for all of us. And I think that's a really cool thing that we can talk about even, is like, how do you guys feel about this, like this kind of like slow, drawn out pace of development that is obviously much more accurate, but leads to much less content being created all the time?
Well, they could do the same thing behind closed doors at the exact same pace without our input and not know about microvoxels and macrovoxels and all the inverted voxels and all the techniques and tools that we've been able to develop, breaking the movers and all of that sort of stuff. They'd be able to do the same thing at roughly the same pace, but it would be lacking all of the stuff that the community has been able to provide to help it get to where it's at. We'd still have poorly scaled materials that don't scale 1-to-1 with the voxels, because that was something that basically I had to corner Felgon at E3 and be like, dude, we need this. And then he did it, and it was totally awesome. And now things look way better.
Yep. Yeah, way better.
Knoober, we haven't heard too much from you on this. Why don't you, any thoughts that you have on the subject here? Please go right ahead.
Oh, where to begin? I, as a developer, understand how much you have to sit back and say, okay, what is my return on investment for this amount of code? How many players will this affect? How many players will see an improvement? How many players will see the benefit? Versus how many hours and dollars do I have to spend to get this done? So taking that into account, you have to balance the content generation with the bug fixes and changes. You know, if you create one thing and the players don't like it or it doesn't work or doesn't balance, then you change it, and you have to. That's coding time. So I don't think they've done the best job that they could do as far as balancing what the players are asking for and the content that they have promised us or suggested might be coming. But I think they've done an okay job. I guess if I had to be, I put a value to it. I think they should have started doing bug fixes and enhancements, focused enhancements, like every third week or something like that, a little more structured. But yeah, I think they've done an okay job. I do remember back in alpha, they were showing us entire continents of land instead of these islands. And I understand that the drawbacks and the technicalities to get that to actually happen didn't come to light. But Sony, since EverQuest 1 has promised us a lot of stuff and only come 3.5, so I would say they're on par right now with everything that I've seen with them so far.
Yeah,
at least they dream big, you know.
Well,
exactly, and that's more important. I would have them promise big.
Development, yeah, with this open development thing, I mean, their hands are kind of tied, like, because, as you say, they're moving along with development at the pace that they normally would, but now they have to contend with a player base rather than just, a QA team or developers play testing. They have to actually keep the players happy, so they have to be squashing these bugs and stuff as they go along. And this optimizing thing that they're doing at the moment as they go along is probably not something that they usually do. And I think it being so open, I do actually agree with Gio. Sometimes, like, I really want to just be able to go into Landmark and spend hours in there and feel like there was always something that I wanted to do, and just be in there. But I don't think that the game's quite there for me yet. But at the same time, every week I watch the workshop show, and all of that completely goes out the window because I think what comes out of that workshop and the brilliant people who are in there every day and building stuff all the time and being a really active part of the development of EverQuest Next, which was a big part of this whole kind of experiment with open development of Landmark. Like, when I see that, I kind of go, yeah, it's all worthwhile, and I'm happy and proud to be part of this.
I would second that.
Yeah, I look at it honestly from the big picture, not for where we're at right now, but where the intent of the game is supposed to be. What Landmark is going to be when it's fully featured, a year and a half, 2 years from now, and it's got all the stuff that we can really, make our own campaigns, make our own content, make things that are AAA quality on our own, with us and maybe a few people helping. And the amount of restrictions we have are, there's definitely some. We can't just put in our own sound effects, we can't just put in our own models, but at the same time, it kind of helps protect the aesthetic of the game, that everything has to be beautiful, because all that they put in the game is models that look beautiful, that are well designed. So there's a lot of advantage coming out of this for anybody who wants to just dabble in game design or actually wants to turn this into a real deal career, whether at SOE or just being a content creator that people buy their stuff with Station Cash or access their stuff with Station Cash. We have no idea, like right now, 100% what the fully featured game is going to look like. We have a good idea.
I disagree, and this is going to be a surprise to everyone because I'm like number one Landmark positive guy. But I disagree from what I've seen in the last since SOE Live and what I've seen as what's going on currently, I disagree that there is going to be a world full of AAA content. And my justification for this is that the bar we set for a good arena build, the bar we set for things is so damn low that it's crap.
We don't have the tools yet.
We're talking about things as being really good when really if somebody tried to sell us this game, we would never buy it. It's really good because my friend made it. And that's bullshit. It really
my
does.
friend's band's playing. They're great.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. There's so much junk. And I make this junk. I'm a junk monger, right? This is what I do. But I am less and less convinced that we're gonna see a whole lot of like this AAA content, that we're gonna see professional quality work. Like we've seen people make some things that look kind of pretty. We've seen some, somewhat fun to play battlegrounds, but if a game that was designed, let's say I made a game that was, you log into a server without this whole open world that doesn't mean anything, like what Landmark is, and you can go to Battlegrounds. And people made Battlegrounds. There may be two Battlegrounds that people would like, and they're just listed there, so you could play them all, and you didn't know who made them, and you didn't know why they were there. Like, you would not play this game. You would not be playing Landmark because you can go to another does it a lot better. And it's not because the combat isn't done. The combat's going to get better. The combat's going to get ironed out. It's because we're the ones making it. That's my... Hey, this is something that I've just come to think of in the last week. Why do we set the bar so low? We set the bar low because our friends are making the content. It is that same. My friend's band is playing. No.
I would say
it's not AAA content, and it's not going to be.
The stuff we have right now isn't because we just don't have the tools. We don't have all the stuff to have it at that level. It's not at a AAA level quite yet.
I don't think developers would. I mean, developers would definitely do way better, but there are people who are game developers inside of the community who spend way more time than someone who works at the company would spend because they just either are unemployed or they just doing whatever. But taking, like you said, I can agree with you 100% that the game right now in its current state lacks content, and if it wasn't for all of us being on the hype train and loving the concepts behind it, I don't think anyone would be playing it, and I totally agree there. But I think Neuro just said it. Just said it, and I completely agree. As we get tools for things like for prop design, as we get more into more interesting and in-depth combat systems, and as these things, as we start getting to the 2.0s and the 3.0s of these different systems, I think that the game in itself will be AAA, and I think that the content that players create will, if not, maybe, I don't know if AA is a thing, but it just sounds like it makes sense. But it's like, I think that it'll be good, and then really the developers can just take that stuff and go with it, and they can definitely make parts of the game. So I guess like a big question I have, Sog, is like, are you talking about right now as we stand today that yes, the content is not that fun and it's not AAA, or are you talking about like long-term concepts for endgame, Landmark, and maybe even a Request Next?
I am saying that from what I'm seeing now and from how the community reacts and how we talk about things, that we set the bar so low for what we consider to be great content. And it has nothing to do with the tools. It has nothing to do with what's available. It has nothing to do with, oh, that person just did it a little better. It's just that we have set the bar to talk about things that are not good as if they're awesome.
It's relative to the context.
I'm part of the problem. And this is that I've been a huge part of this problem. But we got a bunch of stuff, and I don't think it's that, oh, well, I don't have the building tools. Oh, I don't have the scenarios yet. I think what's going to happen is then a whole bunch more people are going to be using the new tools and using the new scenarios, and we're still going to go, well, yeah, since it's at least not bad, that makes it great. And I don't know how to get over that. I don't know how we move past that and start working together and start doing the right things to get to the point where there's any kind of AAA content.
I have an idea, if I may interject. I've always said when I talked about Landmark that any game with user-generated content, 90% of it at least is crap, right?
Yep.
It's going to be. Everything that I make is crap. I'm sure you just have that small number of people that will make things that are good. But then, because it's so easy to make things, and because iteration cycles are so rapid, and hopefully, with a critical mass of players large enough that are all making things, it only actually takes one person to make something good, that it then becomes incredibly easy to copy that thousands and thousands and thousands of times until one other person makes it better. So I think that you're absolutely right that the vast majority is going to be crap. And I do totally agree that, especially at the moment, because I kind of agree with Reese and Gio at the same time, that I think it will improve as we get more things to play with and as the systems become more sophisticated. I think it's about iteration, and it's about it doesn't take much for us to kind of get a foothold. And I think as well, after EverQuest Next, once people see professionally developed equivalents that are able to be made in Landmark, I think that's going to be a big kind of leap forward in terms of what people expect of quality of Landmark. So I agree at the moment the bar's very low. I also agree in the future, the extra tools will kind of make things better. But I think the main thing to remember is it only takes a few people who are very good at Landmark, and because the tools are so easy and intuitive to use, it can be reproduced very easily. So I think that's kind of, in my head, that's what I'm hoping the trajectory is going to be in terms of quality improving in Landmark. But fingers crossed, I guess.
Well, there's a lot of people who are working in Landmark every day to make this game easier for people to create good content, because like you said, like from the beginning, we were basically just thrown into a voxel farm with picture and said, like, yeah, go try to make things happen. And like that's like, not only you saw, like you say, like, yeah, people make a lot of crap, both of you said that, but the reality is that most people that play games don't have the ability to do what we do at all. So it's like, and actually Kremchek said it in chat, the fact is that this is a revolutionary game. Like we are gonna, the things in this game and the way that we look at it are completely different. You can't compare this to Minecraft. You can't compare this to a polygon or a poly-based MMO. This is a whole new experience, and we are doing, a lot of people, I know, including myself, are doing the best that we can to continue to try to make the experience now and in the future the best that it can be. I know, like, I straight up know people who all they do all day is voxelmancy for 12 hours a day, and they try to figure out how they can take the voxelmancy that they're learning, put that in a document, and send that to SOE and saying, hey, make tools so that everybody can use this and everybody can start making better builds. And by doing that over and over again and people continuing to show that dedication, that's how we're going to make it easier for people who are newer to the game and don't want to put enough stuff to make great builds. And so that is, to me, that's going to happen with building, especially building. I think that's the hardest thing. It's going to happen with prop design. It's going to happen with battleground and PvP, dev design. It's going to happen with everything. There's going to be the hardcore people who are going to do it all the time. They're going to solidify the systems. They're going to give it to everybody else. And hopefully they're also going to give it to SOE in the beta, and SOE is going to help take those ideas and put it into ways that other players can give that out to the content users instead of the content.
Now, I would say there's the ability to also duplicate other styles of games in Landmark and do it in such a way that we can rapidly iterate on the balancing and have it be a lot of fun. Making a Dota-style MOBA, for example, real easy to do in Landmark. Maybe not right now, but we will have the tools for it actually coming next month, we're going to have monsters, and so hopefully the basic monster tools will actually give us the ability to set teams, set spawn rate, strength levels and stuff like that. Or even simpler, just give everybody a decent set of first-person shooter weapons and a first-person control interface, and we've basically fulfilled the dream of Red Faction to have a fully destructible MMO first-person shooter. Just make one continent full combat only, and bam, you basically made an entire franchise, like put it on its knees, and like do it in one fell swoop. Knoober, we haven't heard too much from you in the past little bit, and I know you see a lot of content in the game, so I really want to hear your opinion on this stuff.
So let me start off by saying I agree with Sog. I think we are setting the bar too low. I think we need to raise the bar and figure out what we need to do to raise the bar. But secondly, I also agree with Locke. This game is revolutionary. There are no other games like this. Minecraft may be a close fourth place compared to this, but yes, this is our friend's band, but we are creating the content. When we get story bricks, we will also create the story. So there are no games like this. Everybody else, all the other MMOs, are playing static content created and updated by the devs. We are creating our own worlds. We are creating our own builds. We are creating our own ideas, our own stories, our own battlegrounds. Our imagination is the limit, even with the limited tools that we have now. So I would say give the devs time, because not only are they, it's not like they're creating, Halo 4, 5, 6, whatever, this code is being written and developed from scratch. It does not exist currently. So give them time. I think that this game will become everything that we want it to be over time. I know some people would disagree with me, but I, as a developer, can tell you that this is not easy. But at the very least, what we have now, we are creating our own content. We are creating everything in the world for other players to play, for us to check out and just go look around. And the content that I've seen from early alpha to what is out there now, especially with some of the Karen builds that are out there, it's like night and day. Even like some of the alpha builds that I did were very blocky, very sharp edged, and now some of the Karen builds are very smooth. Some of the dark elf builds, which are supposed to be very sharp edged, are just amazing. So I think over the next 6 months, we will see additional tools, and people will find different ways to break the system, to make it better, to find new ways to make different things. Like, for example, I think it was about a month and a half ago, you guys may correct me, the offset voxels. Huge as far as builders go.
Roaming vectors, yeah.
They built, yeah. Two different names, same thing. The building possibilities because of those is just huge, absolutely huge. Not having things artifact, being able to put voxels, make them appear to be side by side even though they're not, being able to all the different things that you can do with the offset voxels or roaming voxels, depending on what you call them. I think those will keep, things like that will keep coming up as they develop and as they build the systems and stuff. And I'm really looking forward to the next 12 months of seeing what happens with this game, because there is nothing like it at all. And I'm tired of playing static MMOs, tired of playing static games. I do every now and then just for fun, but I want content created all the time. I want content updated all the time, and your other MMOs and other games just can't do that. And since it's developed by players, and there's, however many thousand of us constantly creating stuff, it's ever changing. So I'm very, very excited for the next 12 months of Landmark.
You know what?
I agree. I agree with the goal. I'm supportive of the goal, right? Where we all want Landmark to be and what we all want it to be. Now, and I've changed my mind a little bit about this in the last couple weeks. Of people keep talking about the tools that we have as being the biggest limiting factor to getting to that goal of telling the story and having this great world of user-generated content. But I don't think that that's the biggest limiting factor. I think that the structure of the world and the claim-based environment is going to be the limiting factor for all of the content moving forward. Because we are not getting story bricks does not mean that we're going to be telling the story for the world. We're not really affecting a cohesive landscape. We don't even know how we're going to affect the world outside of our claims. And I think that the biggest limiting factor of the game is the fact that we place down a box, and that is the extent of our influence. And I think that because of that, and because of this little isolated, rectangle, is that's the real limiting factor. We've found ways to do better than anyone ever thought that any tool was given to us with them. The tools aren't really holding us back that much. What's holding us back is a way to bring it all together. And yeah, Angel Bay has been a nice project, but yeah, we're creating these little mini pockets, and I think that is going to be the real limiting factor to the end result.
And I think that will be solved with the multi-core and the other optimizations. So I think the holdback on that is the system limitations, performance limitations. And I think that once they get multi-core optimizations, SLI support, and I'm actually talking with Steve Klug about voxel data compression. He and I have a nice conversation going on in private message about that. The ability to stream more stuff with stream more voxel data from the servers to here with less bandwidth and less delay. I think once they develop that system and that technology, I think that we'll be able to have cities as part of the alliances with the guilds and things that they're discussing. I think we'll be able to have alliance and guild claims that are city size instead of just the 7 or 8 claim size that we have now. So I say give them a little time to develop the technology, but I think we'll be able to see a guild develop an entire city of many claims, and our clients able to actually walk through those without crashing.
There's one other factor to it that I think would be kind of a difficult thing, but if they can manage it, it would be really, really helpful, is the ability to redraw the terrain, the procedural terrain, in such a way that the area, maybe it's based on our claim, or maybe it's based on a bunch of people voting that somebody's going to be the master terrain person, but being able to take a section of an island and completely redo the terrain on it to conform to exactly what they plan to do there, possibly even being able to put down roads and some other things, so that way the amount of actual claims you need to have a full living, breathing, functional space is less. Meanwhile, you're able to fully maximize your ability to use the area and use the procedural generation, because if it's built in the procedural algorithm for how the island is being generated for you, then it doesn't matter if it's something that's different than you would see on another island. It's still just using a procedural algorithm. It's not rebuilding everything from scratch as if it was a whole bunch of player-made voxels in that space. But that isn't.
Dave Georgeson has said that he wants people to have 9 claims together, and that's their goal, to be able to have 1 claim with 8 attached claims by it. That is their goal. But the goal, and from what we've been told, is not to be able to terraform entire parts of islands. It's not to be able to take control of large parts of the world. The goal, the system, and what we're part of is, it's a claim system. It's intentional. The claim system isn't we don't have the technology yet, so we're putting this in because we don't know how else to do it. The claim system is their way is what the plan is, from what we've been told. It is that we're in the system as it's intended. We just don't have as many add-ons as we're going to get in the end.
That's not exactly what I meant by that. The claim system is definitely by design. I agree with you, and I guess what I meant is the claim system is how they're designing our ability to build in the world. I guess what I meant was the ability to place those 9 claims next to 9 other claims adjacent to each other, and 9 more claims and 9 more claims and 9 more claims, without our frames per second going down to 5 or the system crashing. The ability for the system to handle that many claims that close together, kind of like Angel Bay with I think it's Angel Bay that has the glitch where there's multiple claims that are ghosted, basically. So if you go there, even on my system, I get 15 frames per second because there's so much there. I think once they get the technology built that will handle that, I think we'll start seeing the ability to get our claims. That red padding area where we can't build next to each other, I think we'll see that diminish.
I feel like a big part of our conversations today, our conversation about all this stuff has been SOG. I feel like you're talking a lot about right now. Like you kind of seem to be like talking about the way the claims are now, and that's totally valid because like there's like two major with the game in this kind of development process. It seems like that you need to be aware of both the how things exist now and what things are going to be like in the future to come up with a good understanding of what the game is going to be like in the end. So if you are talking about long term, then like I want to kind of understand what it is that you mean when you say that. What is it exactly we're talking about? Are you talking about like the entire thing is not going to necessarily be like top grade? Is that what you're like because of the claim system? Is that what you're saying?
I think that long term that the claim system is going to be the limiting factor for what occurs and what happens and how well and the quality of content that we can make long term.
I don't think
in the end.
I don't think anybody could really debate with you on that. But it isn't like that's like a limiting factor that I think needs to exist in order to make the game work. If we don't have claims, then it's going to be a shit show of based on like how we would make things work out. Unless you have like an entire instance-based world where like, most of all the builds are kind of like in this other dimension or other portal and stuff, which could, who knows? But that like, in order to make this kind of like open world type of building system, you need to have the ability to claim your land, and without implementing like some sort of like world PvP where people can take over your stuff, the claim system seems like a pretty solid way to do it. I think we're going to see that over time, as they start to add new things to the world, that's when we're going to be able to to get more of what we want. For example, when they start adding canyons, when they start adding rivers, when they start adding, who knows? Maybe they'll add ruins. Maybe they'll add different kinds of like biomes, like lava, right? Different biomes that are going to allow us to be able to create more of what we want and make it look more detailed and more naturally awesome because of just the way the world is developed, instead of right now where we just have plains and mountains. That's all we have. So I think that through the changing of like the world and its scenery and the way that it'll develop and become more detailed, plus coupling that with explorers, people finding exactly where their build will fit into that world, and then building on top of that area, that is going to be how we're going to create exactly what we want. And it's going to wind up not necessarily, I don't think it'll be a limiting factor other than what needs to be limited to make the whole game work with claims. So
I don't think it's a limiting factor in terms of quality of content that can be produced. I think, unless they're obviously working towards a system where I'm sure they would like a group of players to be able to take over a whole island, to be able to build across the whole island. I'm sure they'd like to be able to do that. I don't think the plan is to always have every player separated in their own thing. So I guess it's just they're going to come up against what's technically feasible in the long run.
Yeah, I could also.
It was
see
interesting.
them.
One thing that you said, Knoober, it was interesting. We were talking about quality of content and design of arenas and things, and then the conversation kind of naturally went towards building techniques and how players are kind of pushing that. And it really made me think of the fact that at the moment, a lot of arenas that I play on, you go to them and they're very visually interesting and they're built very well, because it's the builders that are building them. So they've got all these great building techniques and they look great. They look like arenas. They look like how arenas should look, but they're not always, in my opinion, they're very rarely designed with the specific mechanics of landmark combat in mind. Do you guys get what I mean by that?
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah, it's like they look the part and they look really right, but when you actually get into them, as soon as one person has a lunar anklet and someone else has got the belt of the Zephyr, the whole thing just kind of goes out the window. And I'm not having a go. I'm not having a go at the movement things. See, I don't think having the tools is a valid argument for that. I think people just don't know how to build arenas for Landmark.
Exactly.
No, okay, all right. I don't want to get into the heroic movement thing argument. I'm just saying.
No, not even that.
You have to think about what we have now, and what content people are building for what we have now. And at the moment, there's a disconnect in people's minds. They build things that look right, but because they're not taking into account the way things are, they don't play quite right. And for me, at the moment, at least with the PvP stuff, which I've been trying to go around a few different ones just sort of randomly, and it always seems to be the big thing, and like it really breaks down when you actually apply the combat mechanics to it. And to me, that's the kind of big difference of players going from the mentality of being just builders who make things that are meant to work aesthetically into actual game designers and making things that work with mechanics.
One thing I see that's happened, or I could say this actually. When I first started playing the game, I said to myself, well, this is a beta. All the materials, all the items, most of the things that I get here are going to eventually disappear once we start into either open beta or, the actual game launch itself. Like a lot of the items I kind of anticipated them disappearing. But one of the things that I knew would stay is templates, because that's what they promised us. They said templates are going to stay. So what I did is I got in the game, and the first thing I did was figure out what it is that's going to transfer over long term. What can I do now to actually give me a head start inside of gameplay when it's released? And what that is templates and understanding and the knowledge and the things that you can do from building. So we have, Locke. I don't know if it's fair to ask somebody, unless they really want to. I don't think it's fair to ask people to be like, hey,
you're going to ask me on a date, because that would be awesome.
Only if they can tug your beard.
All right, I'm not that kind of girl, okay?
So
only on the second date, right?
Something that I wanted to say is also that it's really impossible to be able to build a long-term arena right now for two reasons. One, we don't have the entire arsenal, and two, we don't have all of the sets of features available.
Do it then. Build something that's fun now. Build something that's fun for the tools that we have.
But I mean,
not stuff that we might or might not have a year from now.
Can we at least get one indestructible material? That's all I want. We used to have Lumicite. We don't anymore.
But we don't have it now.
And that's a problem, because there's so many places.
That.
Sorry, go ahead.
So what we need to do is build a fucking time machine on this show and just get ourselves to the fucking future, so we could just talk about how awesome this game is.
So
hey, you know where I want to be?
Right next to me.
I want to be
in bed with Gio.
SOE Live 2015. He's so obviously in bed. He's trying to play it off like he's on a stay.
So Gio's not wearing any pants.
I've seen a bed before.
At home.
I know what a bed looks like. Yeah, I want to be a SOE Live 2015. Just having a big group hug with everyone here and everyone in chat, talking about how cool all the new game stuff is and how terrible all the builds are still.
Over drinks at the Heart Bar?
Oh God, we're not going back to the Heart Bar. It is a silly place.
That's an awesome place. From what I don't remember.
Oh God, someone's saying this isn't about build what I want, it's about build what you want. I really hope that's a joke.
So
yeah, build content for yourself then. Build what you like.
Let's do a quick poll from all of us. Yes or no? And if no, why? Do you guys think that with the guilds and the alliances that we will be able to link claims across a guild or across alliances with the player? So my claims can link to Sog's claims, so we can create something a little bigger.
Thing is, that's definitely the intention for EQ Next. So you have to assume that their goal within Landmark is for very large multi-user claims.
Yeah. I don't think it has to be tied to guilds or alliances, actually. That might be one way to organize it, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of people that'll want to do that sort of stuff outside of a guild or alliance.
Sure.
Okay. So you guys all agree that is a good potential?
I don't think it's about agreeing or not. We've been told that, actually, Dave Georgeson said that eventually the system has to allow you to be able to build attached to your friend.
Okay.
That's
awesome. I didn't know that.
That is part of the that it has to work like that. That if they can't get it to work like that, they've failed their intention. But right now, it may be a long time before we ever get there. So we know that that's intended. We don't know if there's any. We don't have any kind of timeline. It could be long after EQ Next. It could be what their goal is to make this happen. It's on the list of must happen, but they're not ready.
Right next to a Saga bobblehead. We have to get a Saga bobblehead in the game now. That's number one priority.
Bobblehead?
What?
I mean bobblehead?
They just need to make a Theory Forge bobblehead, one of all of us, so they can collect them and put them on their bookshelves.
Just one body, but with all of our heads. And then every special guest that comes on one more head.
Like Speedo?
No, do it like that trippy that picture of Vishnu or whatever with all the into the background. That one's awesome. Let's do that. Or like a Mount Rushmore. That would also work.
I have a Mount Rushmore.
Just one arm like this.
Do it with us.
It just follows the sun across the sky. That's all I want. That's all I want out of the game.
I think that there's going to be a lot of things that guilds will be able to do together, and I feel like that is inherently going to be one of them. And I think it's going to be way more too. It's it's really hard, and I like Saga. I want to kind of like jump on in your car with you because because it's
I don't have a car.
I'm sorry,
but you can jump into bed with me if you want.
Oh God!
It's
you can jump mine. It's right here.
It's like I ignored the first one and then I suppressed the second one, and it's like you want me to. Sorry, carry on.
Knoober, are you grabbing the steering wheel to drive your nuts or something?
Yeah. See.
Wait.
Gio.
Hey, do you want to touch my stick shift?
Tell him he drives you crazy.
I don't even know what's going on anymore.
Gio's already in bed, so.
All right,
ready.
I just wanted to say
he's ready. He's got no pants on.
I really agree that I really agree with you that I really had a positive attitude for a long time, and I'm still positive, but it's definitely things are getting hard to deal with, and it's making me not feel pessimistic, but just feel bummed out a little bit about how lacking the content is at the moment. And it definitely, and I could totally agree with you that I think that I think that we don't set the bar too low, but instead I think that we hype it up too much. We potentially imagine that things can be this incredible, beautiful place. And I don't know if that's possible, but I know that I want to believe in my heart and my soul. But so that's kind of I just wanted to say that I definitely understand where you're coming from there, and yeah, I sympathize.
So my whole thing is and I didn't explain it well, talking about the claim system. My problem with it is exactly what it creates. It creates this situation where only certain content is experienced, that how well content is promoted, things jump to the front, and how well things get hyped, things get rated at the top. And with the current issues we're seeing with the guild system, how the entire social structure of the game is coming about. It's hard for me to imagine our community, like Locke said, it only takes one person doing something awesome and getting it out there to start the ball rolling, or set the bar one step higher and one step higher and one step higher. I agree. But we miss that bar all the time. We push people away who have the ability to set that bar because they're not seeing general chat, and they're not promoting their claim well, and they're not part of the one guild that can help promote them correctly, because they joined one with a couple friends that they met on their first day running around mining, and they can't communicate with anybody else. That we push away too many people with the potential of creating awesome content to keep setting that bar. And that the way that claims are, because we have all this dead space in the world that will have things going on, but it's still meaningless when talking about user-generated content. It's all separate from the user-generated content world. And what I'm seeing with the community now, and what I'm seeing about like what we talk about as the best combat arenas and what we talk about as the best builds ever, Voidlust is a really good friend of mine, and he will agree with this completely. People still talk about his Last Wish pub being one of the best builds ever, and he will not put it in the world because he thinks that it looks like junk now. That we have this problem with the community. Not that there are bad people in the community, just the way that we're organized and the way that we operate that isn't allowing us to set the bar. I think that the claim system and the guild system and all of that together is really limiting.
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep ranting about this. That's what I do.
Well, I completely agree. I think that I just wonder if it's like a priority. Obviously, I feel like it's not. Like I think the guilds were put in just like I think we talked about this last week, just to please the people. And actually, the guilds hurt me personally. Like I felt like I was organizing a really large community without guilds, and everything was going really well. Like I actually think that not having guilds in the game yet, when it's not like fully implemented and correct, would be more beneficial than putting them in the way that they did. But I, at the same time, understand, again, everything with this, from the social aspect to the building aspect to every aspect of this game, it's like we get the most basic things, and then they need to grow, and we need to give them time, and we need to test out all this the most simple shit. When I say simple, but obviously it's very difficult for the coders, but we need to figure out how all these things will work on the most fundamental level, and then later on we can worry about how they're going to play out in the end. So but the social side of the game, I agree. People, it sucks because it's really hard to get people out there that deserve to get out there. Even with the showcase is it's not at its fullest potential. The chat bars are not at its fullest potential. The guild system is not at its fullest potential. And even just the way that they promote the game, it feels like it's almost non-existent. I don't feel like they're definitely not. In fact, I've been to these, I've been to conventions, E3. SOE Live, obviously they promoted it. I heard about PAX. They only had few computers there that are talking about this game, and it makes it so we're not getting new players. The players that we have are unorganized, and that hopefully will get fixed with time, but who knows when that is.
Right now, weekdays at peak European time, I struggle to find a fight on EU servers.
There's two people I can always find a fight with. That's it. There's literally two. It's Ashton and Livy are the only two people I can find during the Combat Daily show, which is peak European hours. And they're always ready for a fight, but they're the only two I can find consistently.
Yeah. It's only a few. It is. I think there is a little bit of a population problem at the moment, and I think that funnels that filters down into the iteration problem. If places aren't being tested, if places don't have a throughput of players, and if critical masses can't form around certain types of content, then there's no, like Sog was saying, there's no way that we can push the content further because it's not being tested, it's not being iterated on. People just make something that looks like an arena and goes, okay, done, tag it as PvP, and no one ever sees it because it doesn't happen to come up on the on the search. And it's a shame, but hopefully it's a short-term problem, and we'll get there. It's been a long road. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I think that'll change once they get after October 1st, if they hit that date with the optimizations. Because a lot of players, since PvP went in and some of the patches and some of the updates, just aren't able to play the game. They're especially not able to PvP because of frame rates and lag and all that good stuff. So hopefully after the first, once they get the optimizations in, a lot more players will be able to join in on PvP and at least watching, being in the game, that kind of stuff. I could see a large influx of players coming back to say, okay, now I can play this at this frame rate and it's okay. Hopefully.
I'll tell you one thing that will actually make people want to stay in the game and play it a lot is when we actually have the keyword system in, We have trinkets and accessories that are all about your combat build, nothing about heroic movement, because that's the first point we're going to actually start to be able to get into the build management, the min-maxing, the stat distribution, and find what builds we like, what builds work, what builds counter other popular builds. That, I think, is the big, the linchpin for really being able to get massive numbers of people playing the game regularly and consistently. Everything else, the optimization, I mean, that's going to be necessary for it too, especially with that amount of people actually playing in the game. But for me, that I think is the biggest thing that's really keeping the mass amount of players, because there's a lot of people who play MOBAs that would love that sort of stuff. They would just crack out on it. But we don't have that. We have 3 weapons that pretty much they're tools you have to be able to swap between in order to participate in the current iteration of combat, which is super, super limited.
Do we know if weapon swapping's coming out of Landmark, or is that... It has to be, doesn't it? Or is it just going to be energy-based, or...
I think it has to.
My word, that's a hairy gentleman.
I feel like it's something that it needs to be a game table rule set sort of thing. I like the ability for people to be able to switch. Hell, I'd like to be able to switch their entire build at the stroke of a button, switch from their archer to their wizard or whatever, because it might be the point in the battle where they realize there's no way my team's winning unless something changes, and if they don't have the ability to change that, they're just going to lose. But at the same time, I mean, there's a lot of different stuff.
I don't think we have any real information on that. There have been a lot of posts of people proposing different solutions, and there's been a little bit of talk about, balancing the entire system. But I don't think we have any specific information to say, yeah, it's changing or coming out. And do you really think that the only way I can agree that MOBA players will come and crack out on this content is if the user-generated part is good enough.
Well, yeah.
Then it doesn't matter if the combat systems are in place or aren't in place, or that right now we have a combat system in place, and some people have done pretty good jobs of finding ways to put their own limitations on it, to have some fun with it and enjoy it, and like Locke was saying, make the most of what we have instead of always just waiting for the next thing. Is it really the systems? Is it really the tools? And this is my question. Is the problem ever going to come down to we don't have the tools for that? Because we've been saying this for a long time, and the tools have changed, and we've got more things, and more things have come in, and eventually combat's going to get better. But is the real issue nothing to do with what tools we have?
The only tools that we even have that I'm remotely happy with is our ability to put down voxels and props in the world. Aside from that, everything else, all the other stuff, I feel like is systems that still have not barely even been touched on, and we're going to get a lot more. And to that extent, I'm waiting on what we're going to see 3 to 6 months from now, and seeing, that's more of a complete tool set where we're going to be able to create complex interactions, be able to create really advanced stuff, really advanced content. It might not be AAA quality, but at the same time, it'll definitely be potentially things that are helping us set the bar for what we think top-notch stuff is going to be. Meanwhile, all throughout the process, we're still continuing to give the developers feedback, so SOE can continue helping to provide us the tools that we want and the features that we want. It might not necessarily be the stuff that we want at the time we want it, at the rate that we want it, but they'll have a lot easier time doing that once they've got all of the core systems finally in place, and it's a matter of upgrading from there.
I don't think anyone's arguing we're not getting better tools. Tools are going to get better.
My problem at the moment is, Reese, you're saying that, okay, let's say the only things that the tools are really solidly capable of doing at the moment are placing blocks and props. And when it becomes more complicated, then content somehow becomes better.
Well,
why does that follow? Like, if we can't create simple content well, if we can't create things that are simple but effective, like a shape of an arena that is a real quality arena and works well with the current implementation of combat mechanics, I think as a community we've proven that we can't really do that.
I think a big issue is that
if we can't do it with the simple stuff, what makes you think we're going to be able to do it when it's more complicated?
Well, more complicated means AI controls, being able to put on our own stuff like that.
But why does that make it better?
Because it allows us to actually vary the content and do more with it.
Why is more varied content better?
Because what we have right now is too basic and too simple that we don't have the ability to create the content.
Tell that to Counter-Strike players.
Yeah.
Too basic.
They still play to dust every game.
They're still playing that map.
That's
what you gotta do.
That is a false comparison, my friend. An arena shooter where it's all about being tactical in a limited, predictable space. Take CS players and put them in a procedural space, and let's see how well they do, and see how much they enjoy that. Are they going to play that? No, they're going to go back to Dust 2 because it's predictable, and they
I don't know where you're going.
But that's the point. It's like we don't have something like that at the moment. I'm not saying that Landmark should be that kind of game. I'm saying we don't. I haven't seen anything yet that is really solid, good quality game experience using the tools that we have at the moment. And I don't understand how just increasing complexity of that.
I'm sorry, when I say
take a map at the moment.
When I say increasing the complexity of the tools, I'm talking about going beyond voxels and props and going into all the other systems. Those are the tools I'm talking about. As far as I'm concerned,
why does that automatically make the content better?
Yeah,
it absolutely makes the content better. How would it not? I mean, this is the all right. For example, right now, one of the most popular things inside of Landmark is Friday Night Fight Club, as far as I can tell. There's a lot of people that come. There's a lot of people that participate, but it's a fucking piece of shit. Literally, I was like, well, how do we play this game and have fun? And it wasn't by building a huge, fucking arena with flame spitters and fucking pole dancers. It was about, let me just level off a fucking mountain and let's fight. Let's just, let's get in each other's face and let's test this content. So as we start to get more tools to, so like kind of make maybe more game types, make more rule sets, even get more things like proper combat like strategies and mechanics that'll come into play, it'll tie together all the different things that we have in the world right now, and it'll make it so that we do have builds that people will go to every day and want to just play that game type because it's so specific and it's so seriously what they want to do that they'll do it. But right now it's all the same shit. It's all, no matter if you go to the castle, if you go to the strip club, if you go to the beach, if you go to the fucking mall, it's all just the same, hit me with a staff, hit me with the sword, hit me with the bow. And that's boring, and it doesn't have any implementation into the build. So that's a big way that the tools are going to come in to what we're doing and change everything. And another thing with the tools from the building side is that so many people that are new players right now spend a lot of their time dealing with trying to create shapes, trying to just create, some people can't even make a circle yet, and like from scratch. And once we get the ability to create quick shapes on the fly, make all these different curves and different things very simply and easily, that is going to take away from the complexity of the game on a very, on a minimal and annoying point, and give to those players so that they can actually look at their visions of what they want the game the game type to be like and what they want their arena to actually do, and they don't have to worry about the bullshit. They could worry about the development and the game type and just let the tools do all the work for actually constructing the arena. So
we also have to look at there's two different types of players. We have builders, creators, and we have consumers. We have the people who are building stuff, who are being creative, who need the tools to build new stuff, to let their creative juices really flow and build what is on their mind and not be restricted by tools. And then you have the consumers who want to experience that content, who want to see what you've built, who want to play on what you've built, give their opinion, yes, I like this, no, I don't like this, just experience the game. So I think the tools will help the builders realize their creativity and their ideas, and as we're able to do it with better tools, not necessarily better builds, but we can do it more quickly. So there's more content generated more quickly, more average quality, even if it's just average. There's more average quality content created every day, every week, every month. And then you have the consumers that come in, and they're going to be experiencing all this content that we've created. Oh, I like this build. I like this build. I want to go to this arena. I want to make my weekly rounds of all these arenas and check them out. I want to go check out, this storyline, or when the PvE is added, I want to go try this dungeon if we're able to do that, which we're supposed to be. So I think, well, when we're looking at this game and looking at what we can do with it, and how we can promote it, and what people are doing with it, and what will bring people in, we have to look at both sides of it. We have the people who really want to build, and they don't really care about anything else but building. And you have people that may just want PvP. And I would classify those as consumers as well, because they're consuming content that other people have created.
And they are creating content in the sense of actually making it in the game, but they're all like, I remember being at E3, and I sat down with Dave G, and we were talking. This is like a long time ago, and we were just talking, and I was talking to him about reactors, voxel reactors, and I was explaining to him like my what I see about them and how they could change the game. And he actually told me, I don't see what the big deal about voxel reactors is. Like, that's like a fucking, like, that's what he said to me then. He's like, I don't really know that this is, like, I don't see how they are truly valuable to the game. And now, when we went to SOE Live, we see that he's talking about essentially doing, like, putting a tool into the game that is what a voxel reactor is, like pulling and pushing different corners to create custom shapes. So as the builders are creating that content and consuming, and then creating ideas from that consumption, that's how we're going to really build the tools to refine them to a point where we're going to be able to build anything we want. So I mean, it was really cool to see the devs being so open-minded and so willing to like go from one mindset to another, just because the consumers and the content creators who are the same person are able to kind of come up with this stuff. So
I'm a little bit lost in the conversation now. How did we jump from having more options makes things better to now? I'm sorry, I missed the connection. What you said about voxel reactors and building and making building better, I completely agree. But I want to go back to, we have never seen success in a video game from doing lots of things average. We've seen great success from video games that do one thing exceptionally well. That having more things and having more variety of things to do has never made more people want to play video games if they're not done really well, I don't think. Maybe never is the wrong word, but having lots of options, I'm completely on. Well, I think that I'm agreeing with Locke here that if we can't make exceptional things with the simple tools of what we have, why does having more options improve that? I want to go back to that. I disagree completely.
Do you know what I'm thinking of right now?
Because we don't have all of our systems.
Do you remember those episodes? Do you remember those episodes of the A-Team where they get locked in a shed full of stuff and they make a tank and drive it out through the wall?
Yeah.
Those guys can do that. But if you put me and Dave, my dog, in a shed full of that same stuff, like, I'd probably just cut myself, Like, I sure as hell wouldn't be able to build anything out of it because, I don't have the skills or the know. I've got all the things. I've got every last thing that I need to build a tank and drive it out the wall to freedom. But I have no idea in my mind how to do that. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. It's like you can give someone you could give me every single tool that I needed to build a rocket to blast myself to the moon, and I wouldn't know how to put two pieces of it together.
What if I gave you a top of a rocket and a bottom of a rocket? Then it's as simple.
Now we're talking. If you gave me a box and 4 wooden wheels and a couple of axles, I could probably make a little go-kart that we could roll down a hill and have a lovely, and have a fun time at that. And maybe that's something that we could build on. If my dad had paid attention to me when I was a kid, if he'd been around to teach me how to do that, then maybe I would have got into cars and go-karting, and maybe from that I would have learned with the more sophisticated tools how to put like an engine on a go-kart and do that, and that do you understand where I'm coming from with this? Like, if we can't build something worthwhile with simple tools, there's no reason to expect we'll be able to build something worthwhile with more complex tools.
What I'm saying is
Actually, I think not necessarily more complex. Yeah, I wouldn't say more complex.
We have enough.
I would say tools that make
enough.
what we could do now make it easier. So have a foundation of tools that we have now, but develop those tools so that building that go-kart is 5 clicks instead of 500 clicks. So build the tools that we have now, crawl, walk, run type of scenario. Use the tools that we have now to make it easier for new builders to make circles, to make new builders easier to make the shapes that they need, the different types of voxels that they need, without having to create a voxel reactor and knowing how to do all that. I think developing the tools into their final product, or at least the final product for Go Live, which will be open beta, doing that and making it easier for people to build. What took me 20 hours because I had to learn how to do it the hard way, it could take somebody 4 hours with a newer version of the tool. I think that's I think that will create the excellence that Saga's looking for.
Well, yeah, I mean, it would certainly open up iteration, but I don't see, like, okay, so let's say they put the AI tools in.
Okay.
How does that make the arenas we have better?
If you're making an arena that doesn't have any AI in it, then no, it doesn't do anything for you. What it does is it opens up the opportunity to create arenas that do have AI, or non-arena events that have AI.
What if I want to make an
I can give you an example.
That doesn't have any NPCs in it?
I can give you an example. So let's not necessarily like a MOBA, but an arena, a PvE arena or PvP encounter in an arena. Let's say we do a gladiator style arena, and I have different waves of mobs coming at you. And if you survive 10 waves, you get to the boss, and if you finish the boss, you get a big prize.
Okay, so that's different, but why are we suddenly better at making content because we have AI tools?
Well, does
that mean a gladiatorial arena against NPC agents is inherently better than an arena against players?
No, I'm sorry. I wasn't saying that getting more tools was going to make us better at putting voxels down in the world. Hell no. What I was talking about is the ability to make more interactable content.
I think that we're jumping on this placing voxels. Creating content is broader than placing voxels and building is one small part that it's just what we've had the most of hands-on interaction with for a piece of making content. What we're talking about right now, we're not seeing exceptional content made in the PvP with what we have now for PvP, at least.
Yeah,
people are making some pretty things. Some of these new Karen builds look really, really good. I've seen people that make things that look pretty good, but I'm from an inside Landmark perspective. I don't know how that is from someone coming from the outside, like coming from a different game. There may be a different opinion. I haven't talked to anybody from the outside looking in for a long time. I'd like to do that. But when we talk about making content, we need to be, if we can't demonstrate that when we have simple things like 3 weapons and 3 spawn points, that we struggle making a really, really fun, great experience on Acclaim, why should we believe that if the premise changes?
I think that people are doing it.
If I would also say the weapons are still broken, so it's really hard to say anything with combat because the functionality of the weapons still isn't quite there yet. So the ability to design arenas specifically with the weapons in mind, plus or minus dynamite, because once again that's another major factor that isn't considered as much. That's one of those major considerations for everything. We definitely where was I going to go with this? Basically,
there's certainly a lot of variables and a lot of things that are unfinished and definitely need tuning.
Yeah,
I'd say.
We can't really test combat until we can test combat. Right now, we can test broken combat.
I don't know. I'm not even talking about combat's fun. Like I have fun fighting against people and everything. I'm talking about the actual arena situation. Like the reason I was it was because it's such a good example of a combat arena that is so finely tuned for the exact mechanics of the game. Like that's why I was talking about that. And when I say content at the moment, we should be able to make things that work better with the mechanics as they are now. That's what I'm trying to get at. Like, I mean, and we can see it's not happening because, as Gio said, like one of the most popular battlegrounds at the moment is the flat top of a mountain. It's nothing, like that's one of the most popular areas to fight in.
Popular is not because of nobody else making something that's good. It's because that's the way that the combat system as it stands now is most glorified and makes the most sense. Like, we seriously, the combat, if we're talking about right now, the combat system in the game is just not there. It's just not ready at all. So correct. we can't judge what's happening now. We can't even expect people to do things that are good just because we have, I don't want to say this because it's going to sound like I'm taking shots, but I'm not. We just have bad ingredients to a stew. Eventually, our ingredients will get better and the stew will be better. But right now, until we get the better ingredients, we can't have a better final product. And I feel like I want to know what the devs are doing, what their ideas would be, because I guess you're saying that the players can't create content, but I'm guessing that you're implying that the devs can make good content. Felgon made an arena, and I had fun on it, and I had fun on it just like I had fun on everybody else's arena. And he's a dev. I mean, he's not a, for whatever that means. He doesn't, I don't think he does art and stuff, or he does building. Point is,
he's a producer.
He's a producer.
Yeah, he works in production.
Yeah.
So, Pentapod has one. Dave has one. I think that's it for the majority of SOE. But they have arenas as well that they're working on and/or have finished.
And are they 5 times better than everything else that's in the world?
We don't know.
Okay, they're not out yet. Okay.
Well, I mean, they're probably working with the more advanced weapon designs and things at the moment. So God knows.
But what if we just had a sword? What if we just had a sword?
Yeah.
What if we just had that?
Yeah.
It'd be more limited.
Yes, and it would be easier to make specifically designed arenas to make the most of the situation that we had. The more limited it is and the simpler the mechanic of the combat is, the better we should be able to build things to house that, to create a positive experience. It should be more difficult. Like if we have, if when we see someone coming at us, they could potentially jump as tall as a building, but maybe they can actually teleport, or we don't know if they can blow up a building or if they just run at us with a sword. That should be much harder for us to build the house for.
But it would be more exciting. Like the content would be better because like we would actually have fun things to do. And not that, I mean, don't get me wrong. I sit there all day on my flat plane and I just fight people and I have a really good time doing it with like Ashen and Draz and a lot of other people as well. But still, it's kind of like I have fun, but I still feel like if I had more, I'd be able to have more fun. And so I can have. I feel as if the builds need the tool sets in order to make sense. I mean, what can we do if we have just a sword? We can basically, there are 15 things I can think of off the top of my head. We can have like a jousting arena where you just run by each other and whoever hits each other more with the sword. I mean, you just have to be creative like that. You have to come up with things because the limiting factor there is simply the sword, not the build. Like we can, 1 million people, and like if you get to that point, I bet you all the players and the devs would have very similar thoughts and very similar game designs. But it's just, again, the limiting factor there is obviously the sword and not the players or the content creators.
I think that what you just explained was that if we just have a sword, we have great ideas for how we can have fun with that and what would be great ways to make games with it. I think that little joust thing would be fun. I think that would be entertaining to have things like that instead of this chaos of complexity.
Well,
and I think that we may just disagree on what we're looking for there, and I'm going to let it go. We're not connecting quite right on this, but I'll let somebody else talk.
Actually, I was gonna
I would
say
agree that it would
we're
be
at
fun
time at
for,
this
like-
point. We
wow.
we can
Oh,
go
wow.
another 30 minutes if you guys are down for it, but otherwise, this is normally when we'd be wrapping up. So, what are you guys feeling? Another 10, another 15, or what's
I'm
up?
having fun.
I got another 5 left in me.
All right.
Uh,
Well, Noober, why don't you
yeah,
finish with
I-
your point?
wait,
I-
wait.
well,
Oh
No,
wow, 3
Let's
a.m. for
stop
lock.
and we'll go. We gotta start doing the wrap up. We need Knoober to talk about his landmark battlegrounds now and do the full plug on that. We need to go around the table, talk about what all we have else going on. We need to talk about Friday Night Fight Club, which is just about to start, and promote that. And then we gotta leave.
I think you
Yeah.
just did it all for us, didn't you?
Yay! Sog for the win.
But Noober, definitely.
All right, so I guess I'll start off real quick.
Yeah, no, but go
Okay,
for it.
so Landmark Battlegrounds is having our first tournament of the first season. So very first of the first. It is Monday night at 8 p.m. Pacific. I just linked the website. You need to sign up as a player so that you can sign up for the tournament. If you have an arena that is completed and that follows our guidelines, which is under the arena nomination section, you can submit that arena. We will be testing arenas Sunday. So the cutoff time is midnight Saturday night, this coming Saturday night, tomorrow night. It is a deathmatch free-for-all tournament. There are prizes listed on the site. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. We do have several items that are banned, and we do have a few items that are allowed only if the arena builder that basically approves it. So out of all the arenas that we have, we will be choosing 5 arenas randomly to be used as 5 approved arenas randomly to be used as our 5 rounds. Each match lasts 10 minutes or 5 rounds, so you'll get a total of at least 50 minutes or right at 50 minutes playtime. Let's see. I think that is about it. If you have any questions, most of the information is on the website. We will be broadcasting this on Twitch. We will have shoutcasters and multiple camera angles to the best of our ability, at least until spectator mode is put into game. And that's all I have.
All right then. Cool deal.
Yeah.
And it's been awesome having you on here, Noober.
Thank you.
Definitely glad to have you, not only joining the conversation, but promoting Landmark Battlegrounds. I definitely have to look that over because I have a couple of arenas that I think are pretty worthy candidates too. But I guess let's go around clockwise once more and do our final wrap-ups for everybody. So starting with Not Phantom X.
All right, it's cool. So yeah, I always love doing this, and it's awesome. Thank you guys for hanging out, watching. Again, my name is Giovanni. My Twitch stream is Viz Gaming, Visionary Gaming, or Viz Gaming is what it actually is for the /. And then yeah, we have Friday Night Fight Club coming up in about an hour at 8 p.m. So if you guys want to come and get your shots at a 1v1 or 1v1 single elimination style arena on the top of a flat piece of shit mountain, come join us. But of course, you can. There is a great prize, and the prize I think this week is a loot card, which is limited edition. So definitely going to want to get your hands on that. Anyway, that's it from me.
All right, then Sog,
Okay.
why don't you give us your spiel there?
I'm going to be I'm going to be hosting Geo's channel for this Friday Night Fight Club. I will not be there, but things that I have going on, I will be hanging out with Knoober and Landmark Battlegrounds on Monday, and I'll definitely be having as much fun as I possibly can while a little bit not sober for that. The rest of the week, next week, I'll be streaming on my channel, Gauntlet, until I go out of
That's
town.
awesome.
So
And it's fun.
if anybody wants to hang out and play some Gauntlet, which comes out on Tuesday, I'd love to have you there. And we can talk about Landmark no matter what's going on. Landmark has the greatest thing about Landmark, and why we're here and EQ Next is partially by not having the whole games yet, we have an infinite number of things we can talk about.
Yeah.
And moving on.
This is true. So Noober, yeah, go ahead, Noober.
I just want to tell you guys thank you for having me on here. I appreciate the discussion and the debate both. I like doing both with Landmark. I like that we can all disagree and agree at the same time on a lot of different topics, and it helps, I think, push the game forward, and we come up with ideas and suggestions that the devs actually listen to in the long run. So thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for being here, Sexton.
It's been an absolute pleasure, sir.
Look, I know it's awkward, but please promote your stuff.
Oh God! All right, what? I'm gonna do it properly now. Hello. I nearly had it. Wait, okay, I can do it. I promise. All right, okay, I can do it. Right. Hello, everyone. Hello, the internet. My name's Locke. You can follow me on Twitter at Lock6Time. It's written up there. That's probably the best place to find me. I'm streaming a lot more at the moment, right here on Twitch /Lock6Time. You can find, if you enjoy a discussion about Landmark and EQ Next, you can find an absolute metric fuck ton on my YouTube channel, which is also /Lock6Time. If you type Lock6Time into your googly search engine, rainbows and skittles and glitter will pour out of your monitor onto you and will actually turn you gay. So don't do that. And or do it if you, or do. Like, I mean, it really doesn't bother me at all. I don't care. I think I'm done. It's 3 o'clock.
Tired Locke is the best, I gotta say. It's always awesome having you on. Because you're always like now? Super tired.
Yeah, Gio's already in bed, just Jordan.
There you go.
Gio's actually over there. He's behind the supermarket. He's in a bin right now. He's just made it look like a bed. Oh my God.
I got the
so yeah.
It's just
everything ready for you, Locke? The whipped cream.
I realized today on my stream it's been ages since I've made like really weird jokes about Mel Gibson. So if you watch my stream this week, you'll probably hear some jokes, which is basically just me claiming Mel Gibson was in a film that he wasn't in. And if you point out when I do that, maybe I'll give you a floating platform or a flight suit or some other.
Well, I mean, he was great in Titanic. Like, just superb.
He was the best in Titanic. When he hit the iceberg, you really believed it tore his side open.
Yeah. Did a great job in that.
Because he was the boat.
Yes.
Do you get it?
Yes.
That's the level that you can expect from my streams.
Yeah. So I mentally counted it up here, and I realized 21 and a half hours, like almost a dead split, 50% of my broadcast schedule is Landmark. Combat Daily, live feature rant, Theory Forge here, and content and creation. So I stream a lot of Landmark. I stream other stuff too, but I stream a lot of Landmark. So definitely tune in for that stuff. But for me,
clearly a bed.
aside from that first FNFC, which I had a lot of fun in and was one of the finalists, I unfortunately don't get to because I actually do a broadcast from 8 to 10. It's part of my normal weekly stuff. So if for some reason you're like, oh my God, I do not want to watch a tournament in Landmark, just come on, hang out here, win some games. But that's it from me. So
I want to know why Gio's bed looks so much like a couch.
It's a couch bed.
Why did you get a weird bed? Why didn't you just get a normal one?
Yeah, that's a good question. We'll leave that for next week, though. This is the end of the show here. It has been great having all of you guys on. It has been great having everybody out there in chat. We really appreciate it. Really appreciate the support and having everybody in attendance. The great conversations. It's absolutely fun. It's an awesome time here. And tune in next week for this show over on, not Phantom X channel, Viz Gaming. So definitely be ready for that. I will see you folks there. Have a good one, and bye-bye.
Stay smelly, nerds.
Later, guys.